Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of As Saul Sees It. We are running a little late. I already just got yelled at by my wife because we're late, but Polly and I were catching up. And today, my guest is my good dear friend, Polly. Say hi, Polly.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everyone. So I've known Polly since high school. We're probably going to share some. We were actually catching up and sharing some awesome stories. You want to start off with your story, or want me to start off with a story?
Yeah, I don't
We're
think
going
you
to
can
start
start your
off.
story.
So before we get started with our day here, Polly lived down the street from my parents' house, and one day Polly shows up, and this is how my kids know Polly. They've never met Polly, but they know Polly as Polly used to live in the skunk house because one day Polly came to my house to pick me up because we carpooled, and she reeked of skunk. So from now on, Polly is known as the skunk house lady. So sorry,
Can
Polly.
you see that I'm blushing on that side?
All right, we'll share some other ones. So
We just want to let everybody know that there were skunks living under the house.
near the house. Yeah, it wasn't that Polly was living dirty. It was just the skunks were underneath the house.
Yes.
So
Make that clear.
So thank you, Polly, for taking time out of your day. I know that you have a busy schedule. And today we're going to discuss the three Bs, right? We're going to discuss business. We're going to discuss basketball, which I know nothing about. And then we're going to discuss Bae, your wife,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And basketball and your Bae go hand in hand. But before we go, I do want to ask about business. Tell us a little bit about, the company you work for and what you do for that company.
Yep. So I work for a great organization called the Warden Companies. We're based out of Orange, California, and we're in health insurance. So we primarily work with health insurance brokers, just like yourself, Saul. And under the umbrella, we've got two primary companies. One is called the Warden Brown General Agency. So for anybody not in the business, if a health insurance broker wants to go to a small business and offer health insurance, they could go to that carrier directly. They could go to a Kaiser Permanente or a Health Net, but they could come to a Warden Brown General Agency, which is, you can kind of consider it like the Foot Locker of health insurance. So if you want a pair of Nike kicks, you can go to Nike directly. Or if you want to compare all the options and see what if you want Reebok, Adidas, Nike, you go to a Foot Locker. It's the same thing with the general agencies. So we work with brokers, and we're able to present all the options for a small business, whether it's medical, dental, vision, life insurance, disability, all those things in a one consolidated package. So that's one area of our business. And the other area of our business is called California Choice. We like to say it's a California different approach to health insurance. So what it does is it allows a business owner, if we've got any business owners watching, traditionally you get one or two health plans to offer to employees. And we know that health insurance is really important to keep employees happy and retained. So what California Choice does is, rather than making an employer like yourself, Saul, choose health plan or two, we offer 9 different health plans very soon. So every employee can choose what they want. So I can have Kaiser, Saul, you can have Anthem Blue Cross, another employee can have Health Net, and it really puts the power of the decision making in the employee's hands. So we primarily focus on health insurance, but different verticals a little bit. And my job at the Warden Brown Companies is the Executive Vice President of Marketing. So my team, my awesome team, and I focus on branding the organizations, our communication strategy, and making sure that all of our customers, whether it's broker, small business owner, or the employees, has the information they need to either sell or make really positive decisions. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
You're being modest because Warden Brown is one of the larger group health insurance brokers out there. So she's being very, very modest. And for everyone that's watching us, we are live, so you can ask your comments, ask questions live, and we will answer them live as they come in. So, you work for Warden Brown. You've been doing it for how many years now?
I just celebrated yesterday my 18th anniversary. I've been here 18 years.
Girl, if I would have known that you were going to go into the healthcare side and I was going into life, we could have built like the East County super agency.
I mean, when did you know you were going into insurance? That's not something we set out to do. That's just kind of how the cookie crumbles.
I actually studied to do what I do. So I actually went to college and actually studied to be a certified financial planner. I actually was one of the weird ones that actually said, hey, I want to help people. It's a funny story. My dad has always had life insurance since I can remember. I was like 5 years old, and here comes a State Farm or Allstate guy, and I'm like, what is he doing here? And my dad's like, well, if I died, I want to make sure that you guys are taken care of. And I've always, as you know, and everyone out there, I've always managed my dad's company. So I've always seen that part of that business. So it just made sense. And so when I was going to school, doing everything, it was something that I wanted to continue doing. So I actually knew that. I mean, I knew that going into, but if you would have known you were going to be in this side, we could have been like East County,
Superpower.
your
East County
superpower,
superpower.
the powerhouse of.
It's not too late. It's not too late.
And here's a funny thing: I don't do health insurance. Every time something comes up with health insurance, I send them somewhere else. I'm like, oh, go to this person, type of thing.
Oh yeah, we work with financial planners who want to just give us the health side.
Oh yeah. And I typically do that. I really do. It's just I'm not a specialist in it. I don't want to say that I am. I have the license, but I know what I'm good at, and that's not what I'm good at. It's just one of those things. And the funny thing is, some of our agents actually, I've sent them to you guys. Like they need help. I'm like, call Warden Brown. I don't deal with it. I call them. I know that if Julie's listening right now, she's worked with you guys in the past on some cases. So I don't deal with it. We don't wholesale it, and I just rather send it to the best people that I know that do it. So you know what? I send you guys.
Send them to us. Send them to us. Okay.
I send you guys business. So here's the question I have for you here now. So how did you? I mean, you've been in the industry now 18 years. How did you fall into it? Because I know I studied to do this. Was it just something that just was a marketing job and that's what it was? How did you do it?
Yeah, so I graduated from Chapman with a business degree, and I knew I wanted to get into marketing. But right out of school, I went into grad school and thought I wanted to get into sports marketing. So as you know, Saul, I played sports as a kid. I played sports in college. And I think a lot of athletes, when they, ideally when you graduate from school, you want to do something in sports, and that's kind of the dream. And I realized quickly that if you want to be in sports, the demand to be in that industry is so high that you're going to have to travel wherever there's a job, and you're going to probably not get paid as much as maybe you would in the private sector. So I really wasn't ready to pick up and move to the middle of Oklahoma for a job at maybe a Division II school. So during grad school, I got an internship at Warden Brown, and it was kind of kismet in a way. I live near the building. Like you said, we talked about it before this started. You can see the building from the freeway up here in Orange County. And I always thought, I wonder what it would be like to work there. It's just kind of, this giant brick building. So I ended up interning there, and I was going to grad school and working at the same time. And they hired me full time. And I just started to learn. I had some amazing mentors. I started understanding the business and realizing that, insurance is something that nobody wants, but you need it and you want it when something happens. And something inevitably will always happen, whether you hurt your leg or something more serious. And I realized that I can make a difference and really try and help people understand what health insurance was, because it's extremely complicated. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about that side of the world, because the only time you do talk about it is if something negative happens. So I started learning a lot and realized that maybe the sports side of things wasn't the direction I wanted to go. And, there's a lot of hard work and a lot of opportunity. So I kind of built myself, went up the ladder. The great thing about the Warden Brown companies is probably 6 years ago, at kind of our peak, underneath the Warden Brown umbrella, we had 6 different companies. So I was managing marketing for a Medicare business, an individual and family business, small group business.
Wow.
I was working on software as a service. Some of your brokers that are listening, or anyone listening, might know Quote It. That was one of our companies. So I kind of got this education without having to leave the Warden Brown companies, all within one organization. So I kind of fell into it, but I realized quickly that it was something that I really had a passion for, and I love the people that I work with. Our company was built over 30 years ago by 2 health insurance brokers who just saw a better way to do things, and now, John Warden and Rusty Brown have really made a statement in the market. And it feels really great to be a part of a company that wants to do so much good in California, Nevada, and who knows, maybe I'll be here another 18 years. Hopefully I retire at Warden Brown. That's the plan.
That is always the plan, right? You start
Yes.
somewhere, you're there for 18 years, and you're like, hey, let's do this, right? So,
I'm in.
yeah, right. So, question for you, as is the marketing, the VP of marketing there, does Warden Brown help independent agents with how to market to their customers, or is it just the back office support that you guys do for them?
It's primarily, first and foremost, our motto is service of unequaled excellence. So we really bend over backwards to help a broker do whatever they need. But primarily it's the service aspect. It's really, the quoting, the enrolling, the making sure that the benefits that you're showing a client are benefits they actually can enroll in. I mean, the old days you would present options and they'd say, I like that one. It turns out based on your zip code, you don't get that option.
Yeah, right.
So making sure they have what they need. We'll go out and help pitch a group. We'll help renew a group. We've got an account management team who will, make sure the doctors that clients want are in the options that they need. I mean, we do so many different things within a general agency, and that sometimes is a challenge from a marketing perspective because you do so much. It's what do you talk about and what's the hierarchy of information that you want brokers to know. But we do help brokers, in terms of we'll do educational seminars and for their groups to make sure that they understand their benefits. We'll do continuing education classes in SHRM. You're probably familiar with some of these things, just to make sure that the broker, a broker can bring Warden Brown and say, I've got this team behind me. Look at the strength of what I for you as a business owner. And I think that's really powerful. And again, they don't pay us anything. That's just kind of part of the business, and we love doing it.
Yeah, we got Hernan listening in. Thank you, Hernan, for listening in. He said, first of all, we're talking business, basketball, and Polly's bag today. And then he also said Warden Brown is super helpful. And yes, from what the experience that I've had with Warden Brown and the people that I've referred to you guys, they've said, hey, you guys are awesome when it comes to that. I look at it as I like to refer people how I would want to be handled, like as an independent agent. So I know if I send someone there, I know they're taken care of. And, on the life side, that's what you guys do on the healthcare side is what we do on the life side. We just are the back end and we're just say, hey, we're here to help you. We got the contracts and we have all the back office support that you need. So if you are looking for health insurance, someone to talk to, Warden Brown is where you want to go. So just so you guys know, if you need some information or contact information, please reach out and we'll gladly send that out to you guys as well. Okay.
Perfect. So yes.
Now let's I want to just ask you right now, right? You guys have been changing your marketing a lot, and with COVID, it's completely changed, right? Before we get into the fun stuff, COVID has completely changed how people are marketing. What has Warden Brown done differently during this pandemic that is in marketing wise that you can say, hey, if you're an independent agent, this is what you have to be doing. I tell my agents what they're supposed to be doing, but they never listen to me. Maybe you being the marketing person, maybe you being the marketing guru, they'll listen. I don't know, maybe.
Well, I'm probably just going to echo what you've already said. So I think, the most important thing from a marketing point of view, and it's really a relationship point of view. If you're an agent and you've got clients, they just want to know that you're there. So picking up the phone, preferably picking up the phone and calling and just checking in, seeing how things are going. Email. But I think the biggest trend that we've seen is really those virtual events. So getting on the phone, getting some FaceTime, which is so important, and just connecting with your clients. So making sure that the brokers are familiar with, platforms like Zoom or Teams or your Google. I mean, there's so many that you can use now. And just reaching out to your clients and making sure that they know they're taken care of. We've got the vaccines being shared in California. So just proactively getting information to their client. And at Warden Brown, if you go to our newsroom, we have a host of information. We actually have a whole part of our site that's designated to COVID-19 updates for all of our carriers. So if you're curious what Kaiser's doing or HealthNet, we consolidate all that information for you on our website. But I think the biggest thing, again, just in terms of marketing is really retaining your clients. I think, the Saul and anyone that's dealing with an employer, there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of nervousness right now about what's going to happen. I think we're all probably a little bit on edge every single day. There's always something new coming in where we're like, how's this going to affect me, my family, what we're doing? So I think just staying in touch with your clients, however you feel most comfortable doing that. And so looking at you are probably, the perfect person to emulate because you're on social media. You've got the podcast, you do TJF Viernes. You're completely out there. And I think people, myself that we've connected, online, but your clients see you as a real person with a family and they know that you're earnest. I think just showing that side of you as a broker or somebody working with a client is so important right now.
And it's funny because it wasn't always like that for me. I didn't join social media till 2016 when my marketing person said, Saul, you're like dead in social media world. You need to start doing this. And I pushed on it. I didn't join Instagram till a year ago. Actually, in January, January is when I joined. And she was like, hey, you got to post your videos. They need to see the other side of you, right? Because right now you see me in a Legacy polo shirt, but my clients only see me in a custom Italian suit with French cuffs, right? So they're like, what? So they see the real Saul now, the guy who has the weird socks and will post tequila videos when he's been drinking, or does White Claw infomercials just because they're funny. Probably shouldn't be doing that, but I do.
You might take it a little too far.
Sometimes I do. I'm not gonna lie. My wife was like, "Why'd you
Yeah.
post it?" I'm like, "I just think it was funny." So
Yeah. No, it's good that people, because people can relate to that. They want to relate to somebody that they see themselves in. And sometimes, the professional side of what we do and kind of, playing the part, that's important, because from a financial aspect, you want to partner with somebody who knows what they're doing. And
Yeah.
I kind of, the persona is part of that. But again, knowing who you are, and you've got kids and you've got a wife, and you're dealing with the same struggles as them, kids working from home. I mean, that goes so far in terms of just kind of retaining those clients and really connecting with them that, you may not necessarily get if you're only showing your business self.
Exactly. All right. So we've talked business. That's the first B of the three B's today. Now we're going to talk basketball. Okay. So everyone that knows me and probably has known me, I never played basketball. I was height challenged, right? At 5'9", it's difficult. It's going to be very difficult to play basketball, right? I could shoot some threes. I could dribble, but I could not get into it because I played soccer all my life, right? So you played soccer all through college, right? Correct?
Basketball, yeah.
Basketball, sorry, I played soccer. So you played basketball, right? And I'm going to do this combo, right? And you married a professional athlete. That's why today we have El Jefe turned into Le Patron. That's French for El Jefe, so you guys know. Tell me from an outsider looking in, right? Why is female basketball not as big here as it is in Europe? Why is that?
Well, I think, when we look at kind of the financial aspect of women's sports, and, I'm plugging this documentary I was just in called After the Game, where it looked at women athletes and not Division I women athletes. Like, I played Division III, there's Division II athletes, NAIA. So there's obviously a big discrepancy between men and women's sports here in the US. And a lot of that has to do with media coverage, boosters, where you're seeing all that money go to. And that's here in the States. When you go to Europe, and I haven't been too many places to see my wife play, I've predominantly seen her play in France. A lot of these teams are in very small towns, very small villages where they don't have a lot of, intersecting sports. So look at LA, for example. We got the Chargers. I'm shedding a tear for that. We got the Chargers here now. We've got the Rams. We've got the Clippers. We've got the Lakers. We've got the Dodgers. We've got the Angels. I mean, so there's so many things conflicting for anybody who even just likes sports. In Europe, sometimes you're in these towns where the only thing to do is to go to the game. And I've been to games where, no jokes, you'll have kids coming to the games, to grandparents. They're bringing instruments to the game, maybe European football. They've got drums, they've got trumpets. I mean, and you're in these gyms and it's just so loud, but the energy is so intense, and they're there for the female athletes. So I think that plays a little bit, of a part where you're just not competing for that time. And they just celebrate the female athlete over there more so. I think we're getting a little bit better here in the States, but you see women's soccer fighting for the same, equal pay as the men's team. And it's the same old story.
Based on me being a ex-soccer player, and I still play and I coach, they should actually get paid more because they've actually made it to the World Cup and won and qualified, and the men's soccer didn't even make the last World Cup. Just saying. So, if anyone's listening out there, pay them more because they actually win, and the men's soccer team sucks. So I'm just saying
That's the quote from the podcast. The men's team.
Yeah, right. So tell me how your wife, professional athlete, she lives in France. How did you guys meet? Because that's that's a big craziness there.
Yeah, so it just kind of was meant to be. So Kristin graduated, I think in 2005, maybe from UC Santa Barbara, and she got drafted in the WNBA. And a lot of players in the WNBA play overseas, whether it's Russia or China or Europe and those types of places, because that's predominantly where the money is versus the WNBA. And she would be over there for 7-8 months, and she'd come home for the summers. And she played high school basketball with my best friend. So she's here, she grew up in Orange County. So the circle's pretty small, basketball community. So we happened to meet one summer and just were friends and, fly back over to Europe and just kind of those types of interactions. And then one season, I think back in 2014, 2015, we just connected on a different level. But the funny thing is she's always played in Europe during our entire relationship. So the joke is, and we tell this to all of our friends, when she stops playing, there is a chance that we may not be able to be on the same continent for more than 3 or 4 months. So Crossed.
It was funny. I was about to ask that. What's going to happen, right? She spends 7 months out of the year in another country, right, playing basketball. I know that you post her videos all the time shooting. I've asked you, a couple questions about it because, like I said earlier, I don't know anything about basketball. But I'm like, what's going to happen when she's like, okay, I'm ready to hang up my basketball here, and then you're like, now you're back in Orange County. How's that going to work?
We're in the same house. Well, hopefully she's got, maybe a year or two left. She's 37 and she's so talented. And as you probably know, as an athlete, the older we get, the smarter we get, but our bodies just don't do exactly what they used to do or be able to recover the way they did when we were in our 20s. So she's definitely going through that, but she's a really smart player. I thought I was a good athlete until I met her and we played one-on-one, and she killed me. Like, it wasn't even funny. I'm no longer the athlete in the family, and I'm no longer considered tall, and I'm 5'9" also, but she's 6'2", so I'm short and unathletic in my family, which is really unfortunate because
that is priceless.
Yeah.
It's going to be like the rest of us in COVID. I'm not sure what my wife was asking, but yeah, okay, because we're stuck together. That's what she means. I was like, what do you mean talk about everyone? So pretty much like everyone else, right? And divorces are up because we're stuck here together. So that's what she's implying. So what are you trying to do? It's a blessing, though.
We're apart, so we are not getting tired of each other.
My wife is pretty much telling me that she's going to be calling the divorce attorney after this, I guess, or something. That's a warning. So here, okay, so here you have this, right? Is the income that much different from the WNBA to playing here, like in Europe? Is that much of a difference, or is it just because it's a bigger following?
It depends on the country, but here in the WNBA, just like some sports, there are salary caps. So in some sports here, in baseball, there's no salary cap, in baseball. In the NFL, there's a salary cap. So you have to be really strategic with where you spend your dollars. There is a salary cap in the WNBA. It's really low. I think until they just they just increased it to maybe a couple 100,000, which is the max. When you consider, obviously what NBA players are getting, there's no comparison. But for the top tier players overseas in like Russia, like the Sue Birds of the world, the Diana Taurasi's, they could be making millions of dollars. That's not necessarily what it's like in Europe. But again, if you think about it, if you're only making a small salary during the summer months of the WNBA and you didn't work, you wouldn't be making enough. So they basically can supplement their income. And depending on, the team, and just like here, it depends on who their sponsors are, how much money they're putting toward the team. I mean, every team is a little bit different. Kristin's on a really great team. They're number one in their league. They're probably the best team in France right now. So it's really exciting just to see her, as her career starts to end, be on this amazing team who loves their athletes and treats them well. But it is quite different from the United States, and hopefully it won't always be that way because women's basketball, the athletic ability of these women, just in any professional sport, you just got to pay accolades. It's really hard to keep up, from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint. It just takes a lot of time and dedication. We should be celebrating these athletes because they're role models for the kids and for old people like me who used to play. But yeah, there is a bit of a difference when you look at the salary structure between Europe and the US.
To me, that's just insane how low that salary cap could be, right? Because like for me personally, as an ex-soccer player, and I still play, but I don't play at the same level because, as you said, I've gotten smarter at my game, but my knees are not there. Yeah, so I went from playing center midfielder to goalie now because I'm like, I don't want to run. But when you look at this, right? I tell this to people all the time, right? If you want to have your kid play professional sports, you have to get them playing soccer because soccer is the #1 sport in the world. Like, just I tell them this all the time. And then you see these statistics of what Messi makes and Ronaldo make. I'm like, you don't have to make those big dollars, but as long as you're making whatever, you can make it work. So it's soccer's the way to go. Everyone out there, nothing against basketball, but soccer's where you're gonna make your money. So
soccer's the way to go. I'm not gonna argue with that, actually.
I'm not biased or anything, okay? I'm just saying it. So
look at the numbers.
Right. If you look at the numbers. So you guys spend 7 months apart, right? Basketball is her life, your life. How do you do that? I mean, I know we joked about it, the distance, but how does that work? And the one question I have, and I mentioned this in my story that I was going to ask you this, but do female basketball players have the same amount of groupies as male basketball players like in the NBA? Does that happen, or is that just me being like weird about it?
Yeah. So, I mean, to answer your first question, we just make it work because it's always been our relationship. So, again, having her here, it's going to be amazing to have her here full time, but it'll completely be an adjustment, just like when she comes every year. It's a bit of an adjustment because we're used to living apart. But I think with technology, it's not like the old days where you're writing letters or getting phone cards and like, racking up hundreds of dollars on,
Telegram.
so we see each other every day. We're texting all the time. We connect. We have a family. It's challenging because you want to experience life with the person that you love, and a lot of times it's just the day-to-day interactions. But it just makes the time that we're together more special. And I don't think we're that different. I think there are a lot of long-distance relationships now, and you make it work. So we're just happy that we've found each other. And I'll take 3 to 4 months a year. It just gives me time to decorate the house how I want. And then the second thing, groupies. So I did ask her about this. She laughed at the question. She's received some strange requests over the years. I remember one time she said that somebody DM'd her on Instagram and asked her to take a picture of her feet, which I thought
a picture of her feet.
Yeah, I think you just have, there's definitely people that like athletes and they follow them and they're super fans, and that's one thing. I don't know about groupies so much in the sense where you think like, hanging out at the hotel waiting for friends to come back. But she said she gets requests, to wish friends happy birthday, those weird things where I forget that she's a public persona and she kind of, people know her that don't know, that people know her and she doesn't know them, and they know who I am. I get follower requests all the time. And I have to show them to her and be like, who are these people? She's like, no.
So when you go visit her, right? Do people actually come up and like in the village and like ask for autographs, pictures, like this whole celebrity thing that we see here? Like, is she like a Kardashian of basketball out there? Is that what pretty much?
Yeah. I don't think she's a Kardashian of basketball. At the game,
it's a bad one, but
I like that analogy. I think people know who they are, especially in the smaller towns. She's played some smaller towns. I remember one time we were at a restaurant and I was like, I have to use the restroom. So I ran back to the restroom, and right before I turned into the women's bathroom, there was a giant cardboard cutout of her. And I was like, what the heck?
Did you take a picture with it? That's the question. That's the question.
I may have. I probably did. So people definitely know who they are. I mean, you can see at the games, the fans are just very loyal out there. It's like soccer where they'll thank the fans after the games. The fans stay, they walk around. I mean, it's just, there's much more camaraderie than there is here. I mean, I don't know if they get I'm trying to think I'm sure she gets recognized here and there, and her teammates do. I haven't been over there with the new team because of COVID. But they're superstars. They're
professional athletes. I mean, any way you look at it, whether it's Europe, anywhere, they're professional athletes.
Yeah.
As you said earlier, right? In Europe, and it's so different. So okay, I had to stop my point here. April asked, "Did you take the cardboard cutout home?" That is the question that I would just take a picture with it, but April's saying, "Hey, did you take it home?"
I don't need a cardboard cutout. I have the real thing.
Okay, so there you go, April. She did not take it either.
Yes.
So like the craziness, right? You being American, right? And you go out there and you see the craziness, the fanatics of how it is. I mean, I grew up in it in soccer. It's always been like that, My wife does not. My wife went to a first professional game. We went to Michoacan to visit my family out there. And when the goalkeeper kicks off the ball, they say really profane, just really bad words, right? And my dad the next day, this is a true story. My dad the next day asked my uncle who took us, like, "Hey, how did Ebony do?" She's like, "Oh, she was speaking fluent Spanish by the first 5 minutes in, calling them culeros and all this other stuff." So,
oh my gosh,
you being from here and seeing how crazy it gets out there, does it like make you wonder, like, oh man, it kind of sucks to watch games here in the United States based on just the difference in fanatics?
Yeah, I think my thought wasn't necessarily it sucks to watch games here, but it must suck to play here.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, if you're used to that kind of if you've ever been to a hockey game, hockey fans are fanatic. It's so cold in there, but the energy is so intense. Like I remember going to a hockey game for the first time and going, wow, the energy in here is something like I've never experience in a basketball game and going to baseball games. So that's what I thought, like, how fun is it to play for fans who are wearing scarves with the colors of your team and who've been watching your team play over, decades and come with multiple generations of their family. I was like, this is pretty special. And for me to be able to watch her play in that setting is pretty special. Unfortunately, I only get over there a couple times a year, but I watch all of our games online. They're all online. So I always joke that I listen to the audio. I don't know any French, but it's usually like da 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 da, Kristin man, da 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 da. So I need to pay attention because I can hear her name. But again, like as an athlete, I would think that it's really cool to play in that kind of environment.
Yeah, it must be. I mean, I never looked at it from that aspect. If you're an athlete from another country playing here, and you're like, what's the difference? Like, so if we're talking, baseball, now it's about to start, right? And the Padres just signed that guy from Korea, Kim, and in Korea, baseball is like the best, right? They're like, it's so crazy. Yeah. They have little things, the bounding things, the blow up things that annoy me, but they have all this craziness. Now it's going to be here, and it's going to be okay. Like, what's the difference? It's a big difference. I never thought about that other side of it when they're coming from another country. So
yeah, especially during COVID, since there's only people in the stands. It's like
no one was there. It sucked, and I really my Padres finally made it to the playoffs, and I get to watch them because they weren't even
That's why we lost the Dodgers. That's why we lost.
I know we weren't there. I just sucked. I was ready to go. If they were tickets available when they beat the Cardinals and they were, I was like, I told my wife, if they have seats, I'm going. She's like, no, you're not. I'm like, oh, I'm leaving. Trust me. This might not happen again for a while. I'm going, but they didn't have any tickets.
Yeah, and you can imagine here in Orange County in LA, everybody's a Dodger fan.
Oh yeah. So the question is, have you converted to becoming an Angels fan now or a Dodgers fan? Because no.
I mean, I go to an Angels game because it's near and it's fun. It's fun to get to the ballpark. But I still have a San Diego Padre, the old school colors. I know you rock the brown and the gold. I rock
all the time.
My Tony Gwynn jersey, but I still have my grandmother's keychain. It's a San Diego keychain that's probably got to be 40 years old, and I still have it. So I'm definitely rocking the San Diego teams, and I still refer to the Chargers as the San Diego Chargers. I mean, you don't lose that even though you move north.
I stopped watching the Chargers when they left San Diego. It was like they were dead to me. It's like, you guys are dead. You guys are gone. 2 years before,
wow.
I'm not gonna lie. 2 years before they left, I knew they were the writing was on the wall, right? And I stopped watching them because I was getting myself mentally prepared. And the year before they left, I was like, I'm done. I actually have not watched a football game since not this past Super Bowl, the Super Bowl before that. And that season I only watched the Super Bowl because I try to get into the Browns because I wanted to root for an old school team like the Browns or an older team. I just couldn't do it. I'm like, I just can't. And everyone's like, oh, you can root for the Seahawks. I'm like, no, screw the Seahawks. And they're like, you can root for the Raiders. Screw the Raiders. Like, I couldn't find anything. And then I looked at the Rams because like, oh, well, the Rams are here. They were from San Diego at one point, right? No, couldn't do it. So what do I do now? I spend my days on Sundays trying to get better at golf, just what people normally would do.
Or you could just like the Chargers. And
no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. So Polly, I thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I know you have a busy schedule. If anyone needs help with health insurance, Warden Brown is where you want to go. I thank you for everyone that chimed in and commented. We appreciate that. Next week, we actually will have another friend of mine, will be Zach Kraft. We'll be talking about mortgages and loans. And right now with the market the way it is, a lot of people have questions about that, and myself included. And so we'll have him on to answer some questions on that. And hopefully you guys will tune in. Once again, Polly, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. We'll have to get together once this COVID happens, my wife and the kids, and I'll get to meet your wife finally and not be stalking her. Like I feel like I talk her sometimes. Like, I watch your videos when you post it. I'm like, is she gonna score? Is she gonna shoot? Like, I'm all into it. I don't even watch.
I only post the made baskets. It's
okay, good. Perfect. Thank you. Then she's amazing. She's shooting 1,000 right there. She's awesome. So, but thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone that tuned in. Please, if you missed this, you can go on YouTube and subscribe. As Saul Sees It, and we'll see you next week with my good friend Zach Kraft. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.